Why trust one expert for FPL advice when you can trust 100 experts for FPL advice? Welcome to FPL Mate, my name is Dan, and today we asked 100 FPL experts what they are doing in Game Week 2 to find out the best transfer moves, which players are potential traps that should be avoided, and maybe we should be thinking about using the triple captainship as well. All of that data to come. So a massive shout out to the 100 FPL managers who were surveyed for today's video. Honestly, we couldn't do this series without them, and if you guys want to follow along with the most popular moves and the trends among the top managers every week, make sure you are following along by subscribing to the channel, and do like the video as well if you enjoy this kind of stuff. I find it super useful, and I know you guys are going to too. So let's see what they're up to. So just as an overview on those transfer moves, our experts are doing one thing more commonly than anything else, and that is to make no transfers. Game Week 2 is often a popular week to roll your transfer if you are a top manager, because hopefully from Game Week 1 you made a team that you were comfortable with for a couple of game weeks, and hopefully nothing has gone terribly wrong to change that. Our experts are not reactive to the data from one game week, but they will react to other things such as injuries and rotation risk, and that brings in our 35% making one transfer this week who have adjusted to new information that has come in. Not new data, but new information. I think that's the key in Game Week 2. We also see 3% of our experts using the wild card this week. Now, for some of them, that was pre-planned, having maybe bench boost in Game Week 1 with the intention of refreshing their squad from Game Week 2 onwards. Maybe they wanted to go for Salah in Game Week 1 and then move to Haaland in Game Week 2, and so far that strategy seems to have worked. I hope by the end of Game Week 2, we'll be looking at a big Haaland score indeed. So yeah, a couple of wild carders. So if you do need to do that, you know, you are in good company. There are a few experts doing that, but you would be in the big minority. The majority of our experts are choosing to roll a transfer. So if there's nothing that desperately needs changing in your FPL team right now, it's probably a good idea to just make no transfer at all. Hopefully, by the way, guys, you do enjoy this new graphic and the new graphics we have got for this season of the 100 experts series. If you have anything that you feel is missing from the series this year that maybe we included last year, let me know if there's anything else we can include to improve this video series. But in general, I think we've made things simpler with more information as well. Hopefully it works out for you guys. So let's move on. So before having a look at the transfer moves among our experts, I like to have a look first of all at the top most popular picks globally. So the overall FPL player base, who are those, you know, those general managers, who are they bringing into their team? And then we can make a comparison between the overall player base and the experts. And as we can see, the global top picks for all FPL managers seem to be, well, Mazraoui right at the top, way over 300,000 transfers in for him at this point, the 4.5 million defender there. We've got Kai Havertz there, a lot of transfers in for him, hundreds of thousands. We've got Diogo Jota, Salah, Saka, Bernardo, some other midfielders that people seem to be interested in after Game Week 1 already. But as we can see, there is not much interest in any of these players among our experts, and even the two players that our experts do enjoy out of these top 10 most popular transfers, well, we don't see very much interest in them anyway. We've got one person going for Bernardo, one person going for Gvardiol among our 100, and outside of that, none of these other players are being picked, and that is really interesting because Mazraoui is by far the most popular transfer in the overall player base, and none of our experts are going for him, despite the fact that they are picking other 4.5 million defenders, quite a few other 4.5 million defenders, and none of their name is Mazraoui. I think a big reason for that is Mazraoui, from one game week's worth of data, that game against Fulham, we didn't see him get any shots, no key passes, so no attacking threat in that game. And even though he picked up 2 bonus points, can we rely upon Manchester United for clean sheets in a difficult away game against Brighton next, who showed some great form in Game Week 1? And then in Game Week 3, Manchester United face Liverpool, which is a really tough fixture. So if we can't look for attacking returns, well, at least we don't have evidence of that yet. And also, the clean sheets might be a little bit tougher to come by over the next couple of game weeks. Well, maybe Mazraoui is not as good as maybe the overall player base seem to think so. Our experts certainly are not interested in this player at this point, and no one owned Mazraoui going into game week 1 anyway, so it's not like people already have him in the same way a lot of our experts have Havertz, Jota, Salah, Saka, Haaland, Gvardiol maybe on this list as well. Another interesting one, Pope. Experts not making any goalkeeper transfers this week. It's typically seen as a bad idea to make a goalkeeper transfer unless your goalkeeper is injured, suspended, or, you know, just not going to get any game time for whatever reason. And most of our experts hopefully have chosen a goalkeeper who is at least going to play, and no one seems to be interested in making a transfer move there. So let's move on and see what our experts are doing rather than focusing too much on what they aren't doing. So looking through the transfers out, there is one player that stands head and shoulders above all the rest, and that is Jarell Quansah. Yes, Quansah is seeing 27 transfers out among our experts. Most of those who owned Quansah have now removed him from their teams. Now, this is a difficult situation, guys, because obviously I usually make these expert videos on a Wednesday, and by Wednesday, Quansah had already dropped in price to 4.4 million, and therefore, if you are only making the transfers now, it's a little bit more difficult to get a 4.5 million defender to replace Quansah at this point. And bear in mind, you know, this is just something that happens at the beginning of the season, whereas typically for the rest of the season, price changes will happen a little bit later, and there'll be more players between the price intervals of, you know, 4 and 4.5, for example. But right now, a 4.4 million defender is essentially a 4 million defender because there's no one in between in those prices. So it's difficult this season to try and give you that information ahead of time. Obviously, we can't make 100 videos on the Monday, I suppose. It just doesn't work like that. But we can still definitely have a look at this situation. So, guys, apologies if you haven't made your Quansah transfer already, then you're probably not going to get too much from this. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But you can at least see who the experts brought in as their Quansah replacement. And maybe you can have a look at those moves and kind of say, all right, I already did that move. I've made a move in line with the experts. Or maybe you'll see, okay, maybe I've gone off the expert track a little bit. And yeah, you'll get some validation or no validation regardless. But guys, it's going to be different moving forward. The sample size, by the way, is 35 transfer-making managers. So we don't include wildcarders and we don't include managers who rolled their transfer this week. So 35 transfer-making managers, 27 of those removed Quansah. So it's a real big trend here. Remove a player who is at severe risk of rotation. There was a few of our experts who did keep Quansah, but most who have him have removed him for Game Week 2. There's a couple of other players in similar situations. Aina, for example, picked up an injury in Game Week 1, and also Forest have signed a new left back, Alex Moreno from Aston Villa. So that's going to damage Aina's kind of game potential. Kulusevski was dropped in Game Week 1, and Pedro Porro, he is also potentially injured, and I think a few of our experts will be removing Porro if it does turn out he is unavailable for the Game Week 2 game against Everton, because the fixtures do get tougher after that for Spurs, Newcastle, and then Arsenal in Game Week 3 and 4. So if Porro is unavailable for this game week, a few of my experts, they did say, yeah, Porro might actually be the player I removed this week as well. So keep an eye on that whilst we await more information. And there's various other players in here, maybe who didn't perform in Game Week 1, who see the odd transfer out. But there's not really enough of a trend here on any of these other players to really justify anything. Quansah is the only strong trend this game week for transfers out among experts. And I think going forward into future game weeks, there'll be a few more. But of course, this week, we're early days and experts don't seem to panic too much on their transfers. So in terms of those replacements, there are 3 big players that our experts have brought in to replace Quansah in their FPL teams. And the number 1 pick, and probably your safest pick, is Robinson. So hopefully a few of you guys have already made the Quansah to Robinson move. Very, very sensible, very smart. Robinson with great fixtures, back-to-back fixtures against newly promoted sides now, which is going to be really, really useful for them. After that, we've got Rico Lewis, who is playing really advanced announced for Man City against Ipswich next could be a really, really good pick, maybe at least for the short term. But Lewis, a little bit riskier longer term. So if you have gone for Lewis, I hope you guys have got some backup on your bench. Konsa also not such a bad player to go for either. I guess it's a difficult fixture this week against Arsenal, but I think Konsa maybe provides a little bit more security longer term in your FPL teams with Aston Villa with some good fixtures coming up in the future. You probably ideally wouldn't want to bring in Konsa this week, but with Konsa kind of maybe not going to start, it is, sometimes you have to make that move a little bit earlier than you were hoping to. So Konsa to Konsa, that's very difficult to say. It really is. But yeah, hopefully you're getting my gist. And there was loads of other players, random players being transferred in kind of once each. A lot of players on this list, really. We couldn't fit them all on screen. And to be fair, I'm not really too interested in fitting them all in screen anyway, because one transfer is not a trend and it's not really something we look to follow along with in this series. We're looking for trends. We're looking for multiple experts agreeing on the same thing, which often suggests it is a good move to go for. So let's move on and have a look at some of those suggested transfers. So Konsa to Robinson, Lewis or Konsa, of course, is going to be a very, very good move if you've made that already. It's going to be more difficult to make that now after the Konsa price drop, but there we go. We've got to throw that on screen anyway. It will be different in the future game weeks, and you will get the heads up in time in the future. It's just one of those awkward and difficult weeks where Konsa's had an early price drop that I don't think anyone expected prior to game week 1. We also have Pedro Porro. If you do need to remove him, Daniel Munoz or Gvardiol seem to be the players that our experts have an eye on if Pedro Porro does turn out to be injured for game week 2. If you've got Aina from Nottingham Forest, he's probably a good player to remove as well with his injury problems and potential rotation with Alex Moreno. Again, would be looking for Robinson, Lewis and Konsa as replacements. And Kulusevski, if you're worried about his game time having been benched in game week 1, Bernardo Silva could be a potential replacement there as he faced Ipswich Town up next. So yeah, those are your suggested transfers. Not as useful as it will be in future game weeks. I appreciate that, and I can only apologise, just the way things are. But one thing that we are interested in is those captaincy decisions. Which players should you be captaining, and should you consider the triple captain? Let's see what our experts are saying. So there were 3 different players captained among our 100 experts. Yes, just 3 different players. So most of our experts converging on one particular man. Erling Haaland against Ipswich at home. It is so obvious. It is the most obvious captain you will have all season. It really, really is. So 88% of our experts going for that player. And in fact, the only experts, the only top managers who will not be captaining Haaland this week are those without him. And remember, guys, we saw that our experts are only making one transfer this week at a maximum. Nobody is looking to switch Salah for Haaland this week, maybe using 2 transfers. No -4s being taken. Experts just would not do that. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's a low IQ move. It could be a high IQ move, but it's much more risky, and typically it will not yield results. So if you've got Salah, you probably stick with him for game week 2 as your captain. Brentford at home is certainly a decent fixture, and you can definitely get something out of that as well. But if you've got Haaland, you captain him. You've got to captain him. One person also going for Isak. Some of you who don't have Haaland or Salah in your team, maybe you want to go for Isak as the 3rd choice captain, but 1% is not a trend, so we can't really say too much on that. Very simple decision, guys. If you have Haaland, captain him. If you don't, captain Salah. If you have neither, captain Isak. And I think it's pretty much as straightforward as that among certainly judging from our expert data. But here's the interesting part. 13% of experts are going to be using the triple captainship this game week. Now, this season, we're going to see less double game weeks than ever before. It really is. We're only going to see 1 or 2 double game weeks this season. So therefore, when are you going to use your chips? You're going to have to use some of your chips on a single game week. And therefore, could you just use your triple captain for the best player in the league playing against the weakest team in the league at home? It is the golden opportunity, right? This is the best home fixture Erling Haaland will have all season, right? Therefore, is it the time to triple captain? Well, 13% of our experts seem to think so, so I definitely would not blame any of you Haaland owners if you did want to go for the triple captain this week. It seems like a pretty sensible move, although you still would technically be in the minority. It's not a majority triple captaining this week, but there is a significant amount of people, enough that it is worth talking about, and it's certainly worth considering. And by the way, guys, we spoke in a little bit more detail about the benefits of using the triple captain on Erling Haaland in Game Week 2 in the Stick to FPL podcast. If you haven't checked out my podcast yet, I really do recommend you go and check that out. We did a whole section on the triple captainship, and we spoke about loads of other stuff to do with Game Week 2 moves as well, and a lot of things that we can start thinking about to plan ahead to Game Week 3, 4, and 5 as well. So go check that podcast out. I know you guys are going to love it. We put loads of effort into it, so yeah, hopefully that is going to shine through, and you guys will enjoy that one. But guys, that is all of our expert data today. This is not, I'm going to be honest, this is not going to be the best episode of the season. There's just not enough transfer moves. There's not enough information for our experts to be making those big moves on. But as we go through the season, it's going to get exciting. We're going to see some big trends, and it's really going to help inform our decision making for the rest of the season. So make sure you do leave a like, subscribe, and stick around for this series. But that's going to be it for today, guys. We will be back later on for my team selection video. Looking forward to sharing my my particular plans for Game Week 2, but we'll get there a little bit later on. For now, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.